So how do people really grow? If you're not asking that question either for yourself or if you're in the role of training, teaching, guiding, whatever that is, if you're involved in the growth of others, you should be considering what's the reality around how people gain competency, grow, develop. And that's what I want to explore just a couple of minutes today on a high level. It's interesting to me that most of the time when we seek to help people grow, we give them a course, a curriculum. In essence, we give them a checkbox. You need to do, say, learn, be able to show these specific things. We give them a checkbox mentality of this is what it's going to take for you to gain this competency or the skill set. And that it actually works and it gets people to a certain level of competency, and that's about it. That's about all they get is through that checklist, because once the checklist ends, so does their growth and so does their learning. So it's a way to get functional around a certain level or a certain set of competencies or ideas. Now, we'll often go, well, we want to do this better. We want to get beyond just proficient or competent or functional. And so what we do is then maybe we'll do some sort of pre-assessment to find out what skills they already have and which ones they need to acquire so they don't have to do the total checklist. You know, they can avoid the parts of the curriculum that they already have and that they already understand. But it leaves us in the same place of getting functional just a little bit faster. And something tells me most of us want to get past functional. We want to get to excellent. We want to get to exceptional. And here's the thing, as long as if it's just a checklist that you're given, even if you can shorten that checklist, it's external. You go until the checklist is done. No matter how fast or slow, your growth is limited by this external checklist. So how do people really grow? Well, you may have heard this in a number of different places. Covey with Start with the End in Mind, or Simon Sinek with Start with the Why. I can point to Jim Lohr and a few other people who point out that the way that people actually grow is you start with a deep understanding of where you want to end up. You start by defining your ideal state. Whether you're an individual or you're an organization, the first thing that will propel your growth is to define who you want to become. And that has to be a compelling definition. If it's not strong enough, you won't be motivated to change. But the secret is moving the motivation from external, from a checklist, from a curriculum, from something somebody else defined, to a success that you defined as the learner, as the participant, as the one seeking to grow. So where you start is by asking yourself, or if you're a coach or a teacher, you ask the participant and the student, what do you want to achieve? What does success look like to you? Because then when you do that pre-assessment, when you do that self-assessment, that tells them how far away from their ideal that they are. It defines the gap that they need to bridge in order to get to excellent. And now all of a sudden that assessment shows them their reality. And whenever we see a gap between where we want to be and where we are right now, internally, we want to do whatever we can to bridge that gap, to close it, to get us closer to that ideal state. So now that assessment almost becomes the starting point to our GPS, where our destination is excellence. And now get this. Once you know where you want to go and you know where you're at, all of a sudden those checklists, those curriculum, they are the building blocks to that bridge across that gap. And what's changed, it's the same curriculum, it's the same course, but now the learner has an intrinsic or internal motivation to learn. And they're thirsty for information. They're hungry to gain skills, so they approach that checklist, that course, that curriculum in a whole different way, because now the motivation is internal rather than external. So as you're growing yourself, it's important to start with asking yourself, what do you want to be? And paint that target really clearly and specifically so that you can keep motivated as you build that bridge of programs and curriculums. Now, as a coach, as a teacher, as a trainer, as a facilitator, we still build courses. We still create sequences. We still design curriculum. But as people are entering into our process, make some time to ask them to define success for themselves. Why are you here? What do you want to get out of this? If this is finished and it is the perfect sequence of events, where do you end up? And you let them talk that through and paint that picture of success. Two things happen. One, either they get excited about the material that you present to them, or they discover that they're in the wrong place. And they may be pursuing the wrong building blocks to their bridge to bridge the gap. So ultimately, the way people really grow is by moving the motivation from outside to inside, creating this intrinsic motivation. And you do that by starting with asking, what does success look like? What is the ideal state that you're looking for? That's first. Then you, through feedback, and whether it's an assessment or just talking with different people, you find out where you're really at right now. You have the ideal state and you have the real state. And then you go out and find the structures, the curriculum, the courses, those components that are going to build the bridge across that gap from where you want to be, or from where you are right now to where you want to be. And that's how people really grow. So you just listened to this episode of Growing People, and I'm very interested in your thoughts and insights and stories about this topic. So please leave a comment, put in there how you've seen this happen, or maybe where I'm wrong. The only way we're going to continue to grow is if we grow from each other's input and insight. So please leave a comment. And if you like what you heard, please share. Post it on Facebook or LinkedIn or your preferred social media. And let other people see this and comment, and let's build this community of people seeking to grow each other.